CEO of Altash blockchain. So we will be listening today with attorney Cole Dowden, the one writing for our white paper. Okay, so this is a very exciting time. He is an expert in the blockchain space here in the United States. I know you've met them before. You met attorney Cole before, but I will be reintroducing him to the group. Okay, so here we go. Our speaker for today, developing our white paper, is attorney Cole Dowden III, Esquire. Okay, so he is a licensed attorney in the Court of Appeals in the state of Maryland here in the United States. He is a licensed attorney in the United States District Court for the District of Maryland. He is a licensed United States District Court for the District of Columbia. He is a Juris Doctor in the University of David A. Clark School of Law. He got a certificate of accreditation in the Institute of World Legal Problems, University of Innsbruck, and the University of St. Mary's Law School. He has his bachelor's degree in communications in the University of Texas at Arlington. He has a few notable cases where he was involved. Peterson et al. Versus the Islamic Republic of Iran, a Supreme Court petition for the writ of certiorari, assisted in enforcing the 2.6 billion judgment on behalf of the victim survivors of the 1983 Marine barrack bombing in Beirut, Lebanon. Again, Davis et al. Versus the Islamic Republic of Iran, assisted in enforcing 2.1 billion judgment on behalf of the victims and survivors of the 1983 Marine barracks bombing, again in Beirut, Lebanon. He has many cases, notable cases. I'm going to skip because he has plenty of achievement. Okay, but the one thing is Owen et al. Versus the Republic of Sudan. Okay, Muya et al. Versus the Islamic Republic of Iran, 487 million judgment on behalf of the victims. Terrorism arising on the 1998 East African Embassy bombing in Kenya and Tanzania. Okay, presently, okay, experience, he is the controller in the controller of Maryland, Annapolis, staff attorney, tax consultant number 2. Okay, so he's been involved in various offices, and he's been quite specializing in legal practice, and currently he is one of our faculty member at Altash University, teaching cryptocurrency regulations in North America. Attorney Cole is also teaching the development of white paper. So what he is doing, he is an expert. Okay, so he has a lot of, he is teaching various courses in blockchain legal practice in our specialization in Altash University. So without further ado, let me give you the floor to Attorney Cole Dowden.
Yes, thank you, Armando. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Good. Thank you very much, Armando. I really appreciate that intro. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to start to give you guys a little peek at the white paper, and I'll walk through and talk through a lot of what we've already worked on and what we've got planned for the future. It's a very exciting project. This one right here. You should see my screen. Okay, with my with my whole white paper up. Let's see if I can't do a full screen on. There we go. That's much better. All right. So sovereign money. Just to give you a little bit more insight on my background. I am an attorney. I am a U.S.-based attorney. I practice mainly in American law, as well as America has. We have two systems here. We have a state system, which I have to be licensed by the state in which I live in and I practice in, which is Maryland. And then we have a federal system, which is why I'm allowed into those two courts with my certifications. One involves, state cases which have much lower amounts that are in contention, and the other involves mainly other scenarios involving higher amounts of money, but also whether or not, like for instance, if anybody over in the Philippines didn't like what I said and wanted to sue me, it'd be really difficult for me to defend a case in the Philippines under Philippine law, but it would be more applicable for you to sue me in America under federal law. So that's just a quick, help you better understand how weird American law is. But I'm really excited about this opportunity. I'm very thankful to Rahman and everybody here with their faith in me to help them try to develop a white paper for this really, really interesting concept of sovereign money. So with that, let's jump right into it. I have up on the screen here, it's kind of a quote. I always try to start everything that I write with a quote, trying to figure out, some way to, change my thinking. And here, J.K. Gillibreth said, the process by which banks create money is so simple that the mind is repelled. And then really, it is. And I think we're about to figure that out. One thing to keep in mind is that sovereign money is established under Wyoming law. Wyoming is another state in America, and we are it's kind of a sister state, if you will. We have rules that allow us to share and enforce the same laws as other states, and so therefore I can work on this as an attorney for this because we've incorporated in Wyoming and we're following all the rules. Essentially, that's what this statement is here. We are interested in establishing and making this into a company, with a foundation, Altas Foundation, as the front end. What I want to get across here is my conceptualization so far for this concept, for this project. And sovereign money to me is an alternative currency that serves for lack of liquidity in various communities. And in fact, it could be in any community, any marketplace could uptake sovereign money, at least this concept. It's built on the Altash blockchain, which is a dual proof of stake, proof of work blockchain, which is it's quite remarkable. And the more I read into all of the details in Altash and HTML coin, the more I'm impressed with how much has been worked on and really developed into this blockchain. It's a good blockchain to build on top of. Of course, we intend to comply with all the licenses and regulations that we should apply to, especially wherever wherever we're headquartered, which in a decentralized world, we shouldn't be headquartered anywhere. But anyways, we also be making sure that wherever the sovereign money blockchain operates, it's according to the local laws. So if there was a rule against, for some reason, something happening in one particular country and you couldn't apply that you couldn't use the blockchain to transact in that country, we wouldn't allow it to be operated in that country then. So that's just essentially our intent. We intend to comply with all the local laws and everything that we can. Any questions or anything? I don't know if this is an email that's been set up yet. The SVM email for information or anything, but we are in the process of doing all of that, setting up the basic, developer emails for people to be able to send in troubleshooting information. But getting into the real meat of it now, the initial concepts for sovereign money And let me share my screen as well so you guys can see if anybody is also sharing their screen or watching. There we go. Now you guys can see me. Okay. The initial conception that I have here is sovereign money is a bridge currency. It's a trust and it's a bridge currency because what we're using it here is to directly facilitate an exchange between two individuals, at least two individuals. It could be more depending on the participants in the smart contract once we finalize the technical details of that. But it's a trust and it's a bridge currency, and that's intended to allow two people with totally distinct goods or services to interact and to essentially conduct business with each other. For instance, with an agreed upon exchange rate, I will mow your yard for a bag of sugar or X amount of wood that I need to burn in my fireplace to keep warm over the winter. That's the intent of the use of sovereign money. At least that's the one that I'm jumping off of. Now, one thing that we do have here is an NFT enabling token. Now, this is the concept that I really wanted to press across the point here. If we utilize sovereign money in the way that I'm thinking we can get it done, it's a wholly unique way of doing it, but also it's a way that we can create value out of sovereign money and out of the function of the blockchain. And I think that will be in itself one of the things that makes sovereign money extremely valuable. Now, what do I mean by an NFT enabling token? An NFT, a non-fungible token, enabling token would be a token that is used to create the NFT. For instance, the gas fees are currently paid for on the Alltash blockchain by HTML code. And you use that just as a utility token in order to get things across the blockchain. For instance, if we burn the SMV token to then memorialize the contract or the transaction between the two people, we can create an NFT from that transaction that then retains all the detailed information about that transaction. Now, why is that important? That would be important to create a self-contained NFT smart contract is what I envision for sovereign money. Now, this is a pretty heady concept, but let me see if I can break it down real simple. Everybody has their phone bill. Everybody has a invoice that they got with a package. You got your package. I bought a VCR. I got my VCR. And inside was a slip from the electronics store that said, here in store, inside is the VCR you ordered. You paid this much for it. You bought it from our store. We shipped it from this warehouse, and it got delivered via FedEx or UPS. All of the information is now valuable to a marketplace, because without that information, we now don't know where or how long it takes to get product from X to Y. We also don't know how long it takes to pay for something from A to B. Now we do. With the utility involved with sovereign money and the token that it creates, we then can create an encapsulated, essentially, record of the transaction and use that information to base other transactions on when we don't have a monetary dollar or a pegged dollar amount, because we want to get away from using dollars and fiat to give us our ideas of value. The real value being created. Hello? Okay. All right. Hold all questions to the end, and then or send me an email, or we'll just set up another time that we can make a phone call and we can talk directly. I just like to get most of this information out. It's pretty dense, and hopefully I'm not losing too many of you. If I am losing too many of you, please raise your hand, send a comment message or something in. because it can get pretty dense. Anyways, so what we are really focusing on is the value created by the transaction. Yes, somebody is allowed to get something from another person without exchanging fiat money with sovereign money, but it's based on a value system that they both can agree to, which always isn't necessarily the same. For instance, I may not want to transact in US dollars because of inflation problems. We have hyperinflation in history going back to the Weimar Republic, where it took people wheelbarrowfuls of money to buy a loaf of bread. And that price would change in the afternoon and require you to have 2 barrelfuls of money. So we're getting away from a fiat or an inflation driven back to a value driven economy. And that's what I want to focus in on with sovereign money. It's a sovereign value, if you will. And that's where we get into the value proposition from creating this data. We create the data, and then we can then emphasize that data and say, look, we have a whole market system that's completely on the up and up, and it's completely decentralized, all third-party processed, and we don't use money. We use the sovereign value token, if you will, the SV token. And we use that token to create value inside. To read these contracts, you would burn a token to read through a contract and to get the data pulled back to scrape the data over to what you need it for. That's the intent that I'm working with here. It's not necessarily that sovereign money will be worth $100 to X, in 4 years. No. Sovereign money will be worth whatever we want it to be worth, because we'll have the value proposition, because it will be based on someone's work. It'll be based on someone's actual property that they're exchanging for value at that time. Because a bag of flour is only going to have value to somebody that knows how to bake with it. A bag of flour is only going to be able to feed you if you know how to cook with it. You can't just sit there and eat flour. So me exchanging that flour with a baker and having that baker make me 6 loaves of bread, and he keeps the rest of the flour, and that exchange homogenized with the sovereign value token. At that point, that's our exchange. So we can use it for a number of different markets and combinations of markets, commodities, real world exchange, value for exchange propositions. For instance, if someone is wanting, for instance, our first call, we had a time banking concept thrown out there, which is an excellent idea. I'm very familiar with it. Someone can spend time working in the blockchain. Hear me out. You can contribute time. They can contribute anything of value to them that they could contribute. Generally, we consider money to be the thing that we contribute value, but time and expertise, community management, advocacy, marketing, things like that. People can acquire time donated here and then receive an SVM token in exchange for that. We can get to the tokenomics in a bit. In fact, we will need some input from the community in order to make sure that we get that done right. However, it is in the works, so to speak. So the main focus of it here is this real world value for exchange proposition. I think that's where we've gotten away in a number of different ways. The real world value for exchange. Boil it all down. What does the commodity, what is the thing that you want to get mean to you? How much is it meaning to you? And that's what we're going to push across the table for the SVM. Another angle that we would have an opportunity to utilize this in is futures-based utilization. Futures-based being, futures are what many commodities markets base a lot of their future products on their pricing off of. For instance, the price for a gallon of orange juice is measured long before it ever grows, long before it ever reaches you in the store, or you at your breakfast table. that gallon is actually determined by the farm reports, by the produce, and by the amount of orange juice and oranges that are being grown in a particular marketplace. That's largely gone haywire a lot with globalization. We've had a lot of homogeny that's been put into these things, but we can do better. And I think we can have less manipulation in the futures markets. We can have less manipulation in the commodities markets if we then create a set of data that we can rely on independently and move forward with it based on our own situations. So, anyways, this also would be the function of the smart contract. Smart contract would have to have a futures-based calculation built into it, loosely roughed off the commodity being calculated as well. But again, always in the end, the real value lies with the NFT that is minted on the sovereign blockchain. That data minted into it was burned with X amount of SVM token, is intended to be a memorialization of the exchange between the two people, and contains the pricing that was paid between the two people. So that gets us into an auto deflationary token. Now, this gets into some tokenomics, which we're still working with, but SVM token intends to be burnt in the process of creating the NFT that is the existence of the exchange. So I have X. I want to buy your guitar, and I have 20,000 SVM token, and I want to buy your guitar for 20,000 SVM token. You want to take the SVM token in exchange. Okay. To memorialize the fact that I'm giving you this guitar and you're giving me your SVM token, we're going to burn a portion of that exchange, that transaction, to memorialize and create the NFT that then is the evidence and the proof of ownership, if you will, the exchange. I'm sending the guitar. It's all built into the contract. Putting the guitar in the shipping crate, scanning, all that stuff. It's being tracked, and it's going around the world to you. It can, because this is auto deflationary, because this is generating an NFT, because we're burning the SVM, we're going to have less SVM at the end of the day. And we're going to have an example of a transaction that was worth X amount of SVM. That is the key. For instance, if we have an exchange of services, I'm a lawyer, someone wants to retain me to write them a contract. Okay, it's going to cost you X SVM. Okay, they're going to put X SVM into the contract, into the escrow of that contract. A portion of that would be burnt to make the contract, and then it could be doled out as the contract is executed. That's the intent here with sovereign money, to be not only the token by which it operates, but also a token by which it can be exchanged in. Now, one thing that we have here is the value creation because of the minting of the NFT artifact. Now, the other angle for utility within the SVM token would also be searching through the blockchain for the data. This would be a secondary utility that we would have off the back end for people that want to see if the market is actually, if this guy wants to sell me X. Well, have other people sold that for that amount in the SVM marketplace? Let's find out. Let's burn a token and search through all of them and see what we can find. There's the other use for SVM. So not only is it a deflationary token, it's used in the operation of the blockchain. It's used in creating things in the blockchain. It also has an ad hoc value at any time. It's a lot to take in, and it's Perfectly fine. Now getting into our use case that we talked about in our first time, the barter place, which I've touched on previously. We can make it to where we record the value exchanged in our own marketplace. We're not dependent on some sort of hyper-inflated or overgrown marketplace, or a marketplace that frankly is just displaced. For instance, let's say the gross GDP of the United States versus the gross GDP of any other country in the world, but let's just say Philippines, just for a reference point. These are two drastically different numbers. The quality of living, there's two different things, all the things that people have. That's how they measure quality of living and quality of life. We would have a difficult time bringing those two value systems together. Somehow we'd be overinflating, not with sovereign money. Sovereign money will allow us to find that bridge point and to trust between the two to come together at that point and to have an even, honest exchange. In reality, there would be no realization of any gain, which is a big issue in America. In America, we're taxed mainly on the realization of gain. So I don't know exactly how they're taxed in the Philippines. I need to do a little bit more research on that. However, we are taxed on the realization where you have it in your hand or you've enjoyed the benefit, so to speak. And at that point, the government then says, well, you owe us now for that because you've gotten some sort of benefit off the rest of society for being able to enjoy that here. Okay, sure, it's a harangued idea. However, this sovereign money concept avoids that completely because there is no benefit received. It's an exchange. It's an equal value for proposition exchange. There's no increase. You have what you want, but you're not richer for it because you gave something up for it. You gave up time, you gave up skills, or you gave up something else to barter for it. Touching back on the use cases here, the time banking is something that is very interesting for me. Did a little bit of this in my law school. I believe one of my professors was really into it in law school, and he's a really smart guy for it. This would be essentially volunteering, but on a credit system. Go and rake leaves for your neighbors for an afternoon. You're going to get 7 hours of time in the SVM unit. You will have to develop some sort of way of verifying that. I imagine something similar to either a geolocation or a QR code that can be scanned, kind of like a faucet, if you will. We'll work on that. Again, this is some of this is still in development. The other angle that we talked about was transportation, pay for a bus fare with the SVM token. Yes, absolutely. We will have to work out the detail between the value system encouraged by the bus or the government provided bus to equal to the payment or the fare system, but absolutely. The other angle of it is that if someone were to donate their own time in their own vehicle and to give you a lift, they would be earning the same. They would be earning a credit similar to the SVM token for that time that they have given you. Getting into a little bit more of the gamization and the liquidity providing, the gamification. We're still working on the levels. No problem with the levels as they are. We just need to work on how we're going to get them worked into it. There's a number of ways that somebody can participate without participating, and that would probably be through liquidity pools and holding. Liquidity pools is something that you would either be wrapping or putting in the SVM that you personally hold in your wallet into another wallet on the SVM blockchain that would then be tapped for liquidity, which is basically just however SVM somebody needed to complete a transaction on the chain. I think we have some, let's see, there they are, right here. Rank and dominion for holders and liquidity providers. This is we don't know exactly how much yet we're going to put out, but this is the basic structure. Duke, Duchess, Marquess, and Marchioness, Earl and Countess, Viscount and Viscountess, Baron, Baronet, Knight, Gentleman and Lady, and there are no sovereign citizens. Good. Anyways, but no, I imagine these for a lot of some of the there are options that we can start to throw in for gamification of this blockchain. I think that the gamification could really benefit from being able to mint the NFTs itself, but also if we could mint the NFT based off of their the amounts that they hold when they join the blockchain itself. Or for instance, there's a couple of projects on XRP's ledger called Xfloki, and Xfloki has been doing these little things where they give little NFT items based on how much somebody owns or holds of that particular token or their wrap tokens, and that is something that I'm looking at to see if we can incorporate some sort of use into that as well. Loose plan for development, very, very, very loose plan for development. Concept and proof of concept, spring 22. I think we can definitely have this done. White paper will definitely be done. Then we'll need more technical. I'll need to start working with a technical expert on this to get the coding worked through. And then we'll have a secondary white paper, will be more of a technical white paper that will explain the math and everything behind it. Hopefully we can have a smart contract prototyped by summer of 2022. Summer being at the very earliest mid-June, when the spring solstice comes around. Don't come knocking on my door just yet. We'll need a few more days. But hopefully by late June, we'll have it all buttoned up with a smart contract prototype, if we're lucky. Again, this requires a lot of dedication from a lot of volunteers, so we're working on a number of fronts here. I'd like to try to have a working prototype, a test net, if you will, put together with the NFT creation model, maybe by the winter or fall of 22. So that's the basic roadmap, the plan for development there. And again, it's very, very loose because we're just focusing on getting it functional, hammering out the ideas that we're coming up with and getting it to where this computer thing does what we want it to do. Additionally, I think we do need to reward people for their time and their efforts. So expanding community membership, big time. There's already somebody with a tipping bot on Telegram. Excellent. I've already received a tip of it. It's been very good. The tokens, token as contest rewards, all these things here. We'll just have to get them in gear once we have things operational. And yeah, I think that's just about it for yeah. And this is just basic notes on the back here. Yeah, these will probably, a lot of these will be our in our terminology, alternative complementary currency anyways. So that's just about it. I have a few more things in here, but they're not ready for prime time just yet. And it's about 10:41 now here in the morning here. I know it's late over in the Philippines. So please, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to talk, take a little bit of feedback, and listen to anybody's comments or concerns. Silence is golden. It's either everybody is thoroughly awash in my brilliance or nobody understood anything. And that's perfectly fine.
Okay, guys, it's time for you now to ask question or make any suggestions, or express what you have in mind. Attorney Cole Dowden is here. You guys are in the field. How do you feel it? Or you just express what you have so far in your mind, so that we can evaluate it and see if we can incorporate it. So as a team, this is your time to be heard. Anybody? I know you guys are kind of scared because the first guy who will be asking questions, is always hard. But please go ahead.
I'll take it very easy on you. The first person to ask a question, just ask any one question. They get a very easy answer.
Okay. Who's the brave one? Do we have a brave one in the team? Hello?
Anybody put a chat up? Let's see. I'm checking the chat. No, nobody else is in the chat. Okay. Is there any worries about, I mean, I know a lot of people have had other ideas about sovereign money, the token, at least up to this point. Have I blown anybody out of the water like, whoa, this is not what I had an idea? Why don't we just doing an ether clone? Anybody there?
Because the last time I heard, very few asked questions, and now still, a lot of you are still scared to ask question. Nobody's such thing as a stupid question. Please go ahead. Or should I call names?
Oh, I hope he doesn't call on me.
Okay, so they have do we have a plan to list in CoinGecko? So
Yes.
probably Sir Cole can answer that, Attorney Cole.
Yes, we do. We already have a listing on CoinMarketCap. I saw for Sovereign. It's an untracked listing, so we'll have to fill out a little bit. I believe we have to do some listing paperwork for CoinGecko, as well as it's some of the other like CoinSniper and places like that we've already gotten a little bit. That's actually outside of my purview. I haven't done any of the listing stuff yet. I just know loosely how it works. I do know that they are working on future listings. I know CoinMarketCap is there, CoinSniper is there, and I think CoinGecko should be coming up shortly. All right, I have another question. When the value will come out, just want to ask, please. Thanks for the answer. The value of it, the actual token will require a lot of market input. We have to get it up and running first. And of course, the value will be very low at the beginning because it's based off of utility and it's based off of use. The more SVM token that will be burnt to create the NFT existence, the contract between the two people to memorialize it, the more value will be into the system. Because remember, when we have a deflationary token, the utility drives the deflation, but then the value also catches up with the utility as the deflationary occurs. So in a way, we'll be ensuring our own value projecting north. But regardless, the value will be coming once utility and use is put into the blockchain. We still have yet to get the contracts written. Okay, regarding SMV supply, some are disappointed about SMV supply. Can you enlighten our members why we have such a huge supply? Well, we have a huge supply because we need it. We're using the SVM token in its operation of the blockchain. And when you have a token like that, you need a large supply in order to not run out, to keep you going as long as possible. So having a large number of SVM token is good in this instance, because not only do we use it to onboard people in to reflect real world value, we also use it in the operation of the blockchain to evidence the real world value created. So let's not get focused in on a token per token dollar amount. It really is about how it's used, and the supply will go down because of deflationary token economics that we're building into the system. Still working on the tokenomics. I need to get with Armando about that, and we'll make sure that we get them out. I think there was some proposed airdrops that may be occurring. I'm not sure. We have to take a look at exactly how we want to encourage people to participate, because I think the tokenomics are really going to focus on the holders. So keep that in mind. The holders, for instance, let me scroll back down here. Duke and Duchess. These are going to be quite possibly in the millions or billions amount. That way, if you hold it in your wallet, you're ensuring the operation of the blockchain, because we can be assured that that amount is in your wallet. And further, if you put it into your liquidity pool, we could have you earning SVM on top of that. So as it's being burnt, some gets shaved off and goes to the liquidity holders. All right. But I will have the tokenomics hammered out definitely by our next call. I'm going to put my email address. Actually, I'll put my personal one in there and my office. So there's my personal one. And let me go grab my okay, yeah, I see it. Yes. Okay. Let me find that. And that's my alt hash email and my personal email. So I put them into the chat. If anybody needs or wants to ask me a question directly, I know not everybody is excited about speaking to a phone conference full of people. But if you want to reach out to me individually, ask me for a question or anything, I will do my best to get back to you, or I will do my best to incorporate your question into the draft, and will be a point it out to you when we meet next. There's no other questions. There's no other ideas or answers. I guess we'll take a break and we'll talk later. Oh, I'm sharing still.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney Cole, for that wonderful discussion on our white paper. And also, you are still sharing. Kindly unshare. We can still
There we
see.
go.
Okay. So, folks, that is Attorney Cole. He is a specialist in cryptocurrency regulation in North America. What he is doing, white paper, he is a specialist and he's teaching white paper course in our cryptocurrency regulation specialization in Altas University. So you are in good hand. So we are here to follow the rules, especially the rules in Wyoming, the state of Wyoming, at the same time be innovative enough to explore the possibilities of this new technology in the blockchain space. So I know here there in the Philippines and in various parts of the world, you guys are big into multi-level marketing and all, and some resorted into a pyramid scheme, but we don't do that here. As much as possible, we follow the rules and guidelines here in the United States to make sure that we grow. At the same time, we are compliant to the law. At the same time, we are innovative enough to embrace this new technology called the blockchain. Okay, so we have this blockchain technology, we innovate within it. At the same time, compliant on the latest regulations, not just in the United States, but globally. What is the norm currently, currently in various states, various government. So we would like to be, compliant with that as much as possible. So we have Attorney Cole building our white paper so that we are all in good hands. So any more question in general before we all go? You guys can ask questions.
Yes. Yes,
Sure.
Armando, is this recorded?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. And you'll be posting it somewhere, or how do we get access to it?
It will be posted, I think, in the link that Jas provided. I'm not sure because it's Jas and his team, the Sovereign Pay, the Philippine company that they are in, are the one handling all the information. We in the Sovereign Money, as an independent company here in Wyoming, in the United States, are here, to tell you the direction we have, as a utility token alternative currency. And you guys are all, welcome to ask questions.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Stan. Anyone else? Any question? Okay, I'm going to give the floor now to our Sovereign Pay team in the Philippines to do the, the closing or other further information development that you want to do. Other than that, I have to say adieu. Thank you.